Hello everybody, this is a quick reminder for everybody to subscribe to my channel and please like the video, it really helps. Today we are deconstructing the song Kid A from the album Kid A. So if you're looking for an analysis of the album, it will be published very soon in our channel. But for now, we're going to go song by song. This song is the moment Radiohead stops being a band and becomes an apparition. If everything in its right place opened the door of Kid A brings us to the dimmest, darkest chamber of the house where voices are distorted, where melodies sound like smog, and when everything is completely different. It's not destruction, it's not doing things differently, it's deconstruction. It's something familiar pulled apart and rebuilt with new materials. The first thing we hear when we play the song Kid A is a synth playing a lullaby like melody. It reminds me a little bit of what a baby would hear when he wakes up in his bed. That song of a carousel turning around with a soft melody. And what changes everything is Tom York's voice. It's not the voice that we would usually recognize from previous albums. There is a digital element to it. And why is this, you may be wondering? Tom York literally sang through the cardboard tube of a toilet paper. The reason for this was to thin out the sound, to take the warmth and body out of its natural tone. That papery, fragile signal became the raw material the band then dismantled. From there, the voice is reshaped into something uncanny, pitched up. Form shifted, time stretched, duplicated, and scattered across the stereo field. The result is a strained, childlike choir that feels both innocent and unsettling. A lullaby from a species that may not have lungs. Reminds me a little bit of the cover of The King of Limbs, the voice of that type of structure. Speaking of which, the reason I like this song a lot is that it really reminds me of the environment created in the cover of Kid A. That coldness, that isolation, that experimentalism. This spectral vocal isn't draped over the track, it is the track. It's the main instrument. Beneath it, cold synth pads float without edges. There are no sharp attacks, no punch, no guitar presence, just the slow, diffuse wash of sound like fluorescent light humming through an empty room. Nothing ever fully starts or hits. Everything fades into existence. Deep in the mix, there's a pulse, not a beat, not a bass line, more like pressure. A muffled heartbeat you feel more than hear. It anchors the track without giving it structure. Johnny's role in this song is very different to what we've seen him done before this album. There's no guitar heroics, there's no melodic leads. He's shaping the walls of the environment, filtering pads, modulating textures, adding a small dissonant flickers at the edges. He's not playing notes, he's defining the space the notes live in. Kid A isn't built for movement, it's built for immersion. In Kid A, almost nothing happens, and that's kind of the point. There's no verse, there's no chorus, there's no build up, there's no catharsis, there's no dynamic peaks, and there's not even lyrics. Despite them existing, we can't understand what Tom York is trying to tell us. This song loops in subtle, shifting layers. York's ghost choir repeats phrases that feel half formed. The reason for this is that Tom York had a few songs written during the tour of OK Computer, but because he wanted to break with what he had done previously, he decided to start cutting the lyrics, looping the sounds he had been thinking about for some time, and building from scratch something apparently broken, but that made more sense than ever when it was finally published. The structure he proposed is anti narrative, anti rock, anti going from point A to point B. Halfway through, a small melodic line emerges, a childlike synth motive that sounds almost like a toy keyboard. It softens the disorientation for a moment, but then dissolves back into that black smog that this song is. It feels like it feels less like a hook and more like a memory flickering in and out of our awareness. This is a song that evolves by drifting, not by changing. Kid A feels like consciousness waking up in an unfamiliar body. The processed vocals evoke a first cry that doesn't sound fully human, and the pads feel like a sterile incubation chamber. The whole track has the emotional temperature of a refrigerated room. This is the sound not only of Kid A, the song, but of Kid A, the album, even though there's more colorful, warmer moments like the brass band sounding in the national anthem, or the most pop song of the album, Optimistic. In general, you would say you could tell that it's a very sterile feeling about this album, and even more about this song. The title is very interesting because it could evoke the first human clone, a person born without history or identity. And the music and Tom York's voice evokes that perfectly. A voice that sounds assembled rather than recorded. Melodies that don't resolve because there's no past or future for them. A structure without narrative because the narrator hasn't been formed yet. Where other Radiohead songs may channel certain sense of alienation, Kid A embodies the post alienation, a self that isn't broken but re engineered. The toilet roll vocal fits this perfectly. It's the symbolic art of stripping the human voice to its natural texture before rebuilding it electronically. The clone metaphor becomes literally through sound. And this new creation, this new clone of Tom York's voice, gives us a stronger feeling of being in the chamber of designing new enviros, musical enviros that will then get to the ears of the audience. One can understand. We are in the year 2000. People had listened to the Bends, to OK Computer, to Creep from Pablo Honey, and suddenly you're presenting them with a really weird piece of music that has no chorus, no lyrics, and no real melody that you'd expect from a rock band. So it's basically electronically breaking and rebuilding everything Radiohead stood for. The audience, when they first listened to this, I can imagine them thinking that their stereo was probably broken after listening to everything in its right place, looping, and Kid A, where you can't even identify one word from the lyrics, on based also on a very childlike synth sound, confused the living hell out of the audience in the year 2000. The classical moment of you're not ready for this yet, but give it a few listens and you will love it. It's the sound of identity before identity exists, the sound of emotion before emotion has a vocabulary, the sound of a new mind blinking open. So, Kid A is not a song meant to be followed, it's a space meant to be occupied. I find it particularly interesting that the band chooses to play it live quite more often than one would expect. You can tell Tom York enjoys playing the song very much. Not only Tom York, but the band itself. And performing it live gives a new halo of interest since you can actually understand what he's saying, and how the drums incorporate into the synth melody brings the song a lot more alive, especially when they got their second drummer during the King of Limbs tour and a Moonshaped Pool tour, where we could enjoy that really fresh sound of drums coming from two masterful players of their instrument. Kid A is a weightless, detached, and eerily calm, not sad, not angry, not ecstatic. It feels like floating in a futuristic nursery where the machines hum softly and the air is too clean. Nothing resolves because nothing has ever begun. Nothing builds because there's nothing to build towards. The song doesn't travel, it orbits, it floats. When everything in its right place sounds like struggling to remain grounded, Kid A sounds like the moment after surrender. Not defeat, release. The dissolution of an ego, a voice stripped down to a filtered whisper, a melody reduced to a suggestion. It's hauntingly precise because it's so calm. It's powerful because it refuses the drama and the out of proportion sad lyrics that Tom York uses sometimes. It isn't asking you to understand the track, it's asking you to accept the atmosphere. And once you're in that atmosphere, the rest of the album makes sense. Because Kid A isn't just an album opener's companion, it's the thesis of the entire era. Don't look for the person you knew. They're gone. This is the replacement. A new voice, a new texture, a new identity emerging from the digital fog. A band that will never be the same again. Thank you very much for watching.